Welcome back. We're still talking about that one-page business plan, that way of pitching all of these major components about that business idea that you are going to pursue or hopefully get out there and succeed with. I mean, we're talking about whether it's a startup, whether it's an up and running business, whatever you got planned, we are going to simply and easily and quickly get all those ideas into one place with this one-page business plan. Let me just reassure you a little bit here. We're talking about numbers, we're talking about financial forecasting, and we're talking about financing and these sort of more complicated financial topics in a very simple way because it is a critical cornerstone of the business that you are trying to build. I like to think of it sometimes as a three-legged stool, right? The stool can't stand without all three legs. The first leg is you, the entrepreneur, the person who is going to make this happen, the person who from nothing will create this new venture or this business that's up and running and will continue to grow over time. So your ability to wake up in the morning and pursue this work is one of the legs. Another leg that we talked about before is the paying customer. Not somebody who's interested in having you succeed, but someone who is willing to exchange money for what you're offering. That's that paying customer. Now, a lot of times, a lot of us can get over delighted with the excitement it is about, I am the entrepreneur and I've got my paying customer, I've got a business, let's go. The third leg is honestly sometimes one of the most important and kind of defines this idea of feasibility. And that third leg is if customers purchase from you, do you have a profitable business model? So as you get more and more customers, does your business continue to grow? Or are you just breaking even and barely staying above water? Or are you actually losing money over time and eventually you're going to run out of cash? That's why the third leg of that feasibility stool is the profit, the margin, the ability to actually convert customers into a profitable business model. When we start looking at the revenue and expenses section of this one-page business plan, I want to remind you, for now we can just use words. Just describe the revenue streams, that is the way that you're going to earn money, the way that your customers will exchange money and what they're exchanging it for, and the individual expenses. What are the things that cost this business money and are significant? The challenge in this section is to keep these individual items maybe down to a list of 5 items. That's a good target number, 5 items per list. So that means if you're a retail shop with a ton of different items, you might want to categorize those into major groups. If you're a restaurant, pro tip, you've already got a way of categorizing your many dishes because you've probably got your menu sorted by appetizers, entrees, drinks, that kind of thing. So that's what I want to see in that revenue section. And very similar in the expenses section too. What are those major incredibly large groups of things that will cost you money over time? Don't worry about, copier paper, but I do want to hear about rent. Okay? Don't worry about the cost of pens and pads of paper for the desks, but I do want to hear about employees. And while we're talking about employees, by the way, I really always want to emphasize, always remember to pay yourself as an employee of your company when you're making one of these financial forecasts, okay? It's really common for solo entrepreneurs to be so passionate about this idea, think, wow, I can start selling this, I can get out there, especially if they haven't done a startup before, and they get out into the world and they're making money, but they're not paying themselves enough to make this a sustainable venture as a human being for a long period of time. So, number one tip in the expenses, pay yourself. Make sure you're talking about personnel, the employees that you'll include in that section. And then one more tip when we're thinking about expenses is the idea of direct costs or costs of goods sold. Okay, the way I like to think about those as a special type of expense, if you are a cereal seller, a breakfast cereal seller business, and you're selling boxes of cereal for $2 a box, and that cardboard box, you don't make it yourself, you buy it and it costs you 50 cents per box, then quite simply your cost of goods sold, your direct costs per cereal box sold is 50 cents. And there's just a great place to put that in your expense list, so please do include that. It shows a great depth of knowledge about the business that you're going to pursue. So that's all we're trying to do in this section. Keep it simple, keep it lists, keep it in words, and then move on. And if you want to make a more detailed financial forecast, you can use a great tool like LivePlan to make a more detailed, numerical-based, feasible financial forecast that can also be very easy for you. The funding that a business might receive over the lifetime of the business is sometimes a very exciting topic for an entrepreneur to think about. It can be also very intimidating. The idea of asking a bank, a friend or family member, an investor for money can be very sort of overwhelming and feel like something you don't do that often in your life. So the funding needed section can be very important for the business, but can also be sort of wrought with emotions and tension and that kind of thing. So again, let's try and keep it very easy for this one-page business plan. Try and keep it very simple. The best way ultimately to understand the funding needed for any business is to create a full financial forecast. And so we'll provide more information, more videos about that process separately. But just know that the best way is to have all of those numbers down in one place where they just simply reveal the amount of money that you'll need. In the meantime, there's a couple tips that I think you can use for this one-page business plan that'll be very helpful. The first is, think of funding needed as a SMART goal. That's S-M-A-R-T. And you want to think of those letters as specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based or time-bound. Use all 5 of those quick and easy letters to remember that when you describe the funding needed, you should include all of those items. An example would be, this business needs $500,000 in order to open its doors by October 1 month before the start date. And if I don't receive that, I won't be able to open that business. Right? So that's a great summary of this idea of using a SMART goal when talking about funding needed. Once you've got that SMART goal set up, the other major component and a common issue that I see with a lot of entrepreneurs is that probably or perhaps you as the entrepreneur are going to put some sort of money into this business while it's starting up. You're going to contribute time of your own that is maybe less paid or unpaid compared to how you intend to get paid later. Be sure to track all of that, because that is the same as an investment from an outside source. It is funding that is needed to start the business, so don't underestimate the value of the funding needed, even if it's provided from you, the entrepreneur, the business owner. So as you keep working on this, remember, you've got a draft as far as I'm concerned. You've got the first draft of the work that you're doing. So please, when you consider those revenue and expense streams, when you consider that funding needed, give it a write down right now. Remember that you're probably going to want to change some of those items later as you continue to learn from your customers, research that you might do, the entire world and how it's changing, maybe even your own changing point of view. So try to get down as quickly as you can these draft items and keep a mindset of continuous improvement. How can I revise this draft to continually make it better? And as I mentioned before, if you're going to make a full financial forecast, the improved version of those revenue stream names and those expenses will be the first step to creating a financial forecast that includes numbers and values and pro forma sheets and P&Ls, but that's not for today. That's for another day. Thanks for watching for now, and I look forward to seeing you on the future videos. I look forward to seeing you in the future on a video. Me in the future looking at you on video, but you're looking at me anytime. It can be anytime in the future.